show. Free yourself and let go. Time to see it all. Don't think about tomorrow. Today we are heroes. Here adventure calls. There are whole new worlds to see. I keep running, and my feet keep lifting me. Like I'm flying. Time to see it. This is where it all begins. This is where it all begins. This is where it all begins. 'Cause this could be the best day of our lives. Yeah. This is where it all begins.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being with me for the first edition of PHYTO Hair Talk. I'm Lynn Tan, and today I'm going to talk to you about hair loss. PHYTO Hair Talk is a weekly live program where I will hone in on a particular topic on our scalp, on our hair, and for you to post all the questions that you have on the topic, and I'll answer them. So today, we're going to talk about hair loss. I decided to start my series with this topic because I know it's a topic that's really important and very dear to our hearts. My agenda for today will be as such. Before we dive into hair loss, we first need to understand our hair anatomy and learn about hair life cycle. And we also touch a bit about the two common hair loss problems we have, reactive alopecia, which happens to mainly women, and androgenetic alopecia, which happens mainly to men. I would really like the next 30 minutes to be interesting, informative, and interactive. So please type in your questions into the comment section of our PHYTO Facebook Live, and I'll do my very best to answer every one of them. So let's begin. Fun fact, did you know that our head, we have 100 to 150,000 strands of hair on our human head? So between 100,000 and 150,000 strands. And as you can see in this diagram, this shows our hair follicle. Biologically, we are all similar. Our hair follicle is implanted 5 mm into our scalp. And please notice that our hair follicle is attached to nerves and blood vessels. And everything above the skin, above the hair, that's our hair strand. And that part of our hair is dead, while our scalp is alive. Why do I say that? Because when you pull your hair out from your hair, when you pull it out, you can feel pain, right? But when you cut your hair, you don't feel anything. When you go for a haircut to the hairdresser, you don't feel anything because there are no nerves there. Yeah? So what happens is, it's really important that we take care of our hair follicles because that's really where the life is at. Yeah? So it's really important that we take care of our scalp because it's alive and our hair is dead. The next thing I want you to look at is our sebaceous glands. Do you notice that each of us have a sebaceous gland which is attached to the hair follicle? Each hair follicle has 1 or 2 sebaceous glands. That means that it's really important because the main function of our sebaceous glands is to produce and secrete sebum, which lubricates our skin, lubricates our scalp, and makes our hair supple and shiny. If it doesn't regulate well, if you have too little sebum, our scalp becomes dry and tight and sensitive. It gets itchy. But if our sebaceous glands are too active and overproduce sebum, then it will cause us to clog our pores, make our hair really oily and limp, and that doesn't look very nice. And sometimes it can even lead to hair loss. So if your scalp is not cleansed well, if you don't use the right shampoos, a shampoo that's too much chemicals, and especially with silicone, it will become a cesspool of bacteria and itching and cause lots of problems. So it's really important that we use the right products for our hair. And then you're going to ask me, but Lynn, we live in Singapore. It's hot, it's humid, right? We all have oily scalp. That's not true. Because if you notice in the diagram, our sweat glands is separated from our hair follicle. It's not connected, which also means that when you're sweaty, you do not have an oily scalp. And it also means that when you're sweaty, it does not cause any hair loss. So a fun fact is that our hair grows about 1 cm per month, and it grows about 12 to 15 cm per year. So it takes about 3 years to grow our hair to our shoulders, and about 7 years to grow our hair to our waist. Oh, let me check if there's any questions before we move on. So far, we're quite good. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. So please feel free to type in the questions that you have so that I could help to answer any of the questions you have about hair, about scalp, and about hair loss. So let's talk about the next part, which is our hair life cycle. All of us go through a hair life cycle. We have the anagen phase, which is our first phase. It lasts between 2 to 6 years. So if your hair follicle is really healthy, it will grow up to 6 years and then it will renew itself. And then we have the catagen phase, where the hair is detaching itself from the papilla, right? And the last phase is the telogen phase. The telogen phase is where the hair is resting and waiting for the new hair to grow, where it will push the old hair out. So it's very normal for our entire hair, but 5 to 10% of our hair is at the telogen phase, waiting to drop. So on average, every day, we will lose between 50 to 100 strands of hair, and that's really normal. Yeah, that's really normal. To when you comb your hair and the hair falls out, 50 to 100 strands a day. And then what happens is the anagen phase starts again. So this is the entire hair life cycle that we go through, all of us. So then you ask me, so what's the issue, Lynn? What's the big deal? Since our hair grows again, right? So how do we get hair loss? Well, firstly, if you lose over 100 strands of hair a day and you're unable to catch up with the loss, your new hair growth is unable to catch up as fast as you're losing it, then you're going to have hair loss problems. And another important point, which not everyone knows, is that our hair life cycles do not last forever. They don't. We have a limited number of hair life cycles. We have on average 20 to 24 hair life cycles. Like our teeth, we only have 2 cycles. We drop our teeth twice, we have no more teeth. So if we drop our hair 20 times, we'll have no more hair. So that's a bit scary, right? So if you do your maths, I have 20 life cycles and our hair grow up to 6 years, which means I should have a full head of hair till I'm 120 years old. But I don't think that's true for most of us. A lot of us start suffering from hair loss as early as our 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. It doesn't even last to 100 years old, right? So I like to emphasize, and our focus really for hair loss is we need to prolong our hair life cycle. We need to make sure that our hair can live to the right old age of 6 years before it falls off and grows again. I think that's really critical. Growing hair is one part, but keep the hair growing and strong for 6 years is really important. Also, we haven't really found a machine that could tell us how many cycles we have left, right? So that means that every cycle we have is really precious. I want to take a pause for a moment and just check. There are lots of questions coming in, so I'm going to try to go through as many of them as possible. So I have a question here. Oh, yes, coming from 2 of our audience, Kaiwan Teo and Samantha Ong. Why is silicone bad for the hair? Yes, I mentioned earlier that we should choose products that doesn't have silicone. Silicone is bad for the hair because silicone, as you know, is what you use. It's like a layer of plastic. You use it to fill in gaps in your renovation. Then again, silicone for the hair is something that's quite nice if you want your hair to feel smooth, especially for the dry ends. But silicone is really bad for the scalp because when you shampoo the silicone onto your scalp, it's a layer of plastic all over your hair, about all over your hair follicles. It will clog it up. You will not breathe. Your pores cannot breathe. Imagine you have a thin layer of film over your face. It feels very smooth, right? But it's really bad after a long period of time where your pores cannot breathe. And everything is going to be clogged up. So, and sadly, most of our products in the market all have silicone in it. And how do I identify that? You can see from the ingredients listing. This ingredients listing are facts. If you look at it, if you see any ingredient that ends with a cone, something, something cone, something, something cone, that means there's silicone in it. And silicone, like I said, is nice to have, maybe just for the hair ends. Maybe for the ends, and you can probably leave on it just for the hair because you know the hair is dead, right? What you want is for it to feel smooth. Silicone is definitely not recommended for you to use as a shampoo on your head. Yeah. Another question is, how can we prolong our hair life cycle? Let's get back to that at the end of the show. We'll talk more about that. We have another question here that says, when is the best time to start using hair loss serum? The fact that you're asking me that question, Drew, I think now is the best time for you to start. If you start to feel like you're having hair loss, that means you're probably having hair loss. If you see that when you shower, your drainage pipe is clogged up, that's a good sign that you need to start doing something about it. Yeah, if you start to feel like your ponytail is getting smaller and not as fat and thick, that's also another sign. If you feel like, oh, I've got no hair loss, Lynn, but you know there are products that you can use to prevent, so you will not get there. So I think that's also a good one to do. Okay, I have questions here that ask about overstyling. Yes, we're going to talk about that very shortly, actually, and about female and male hair loss. We're going to touch on that also very soon. So let me get back and we'll get to more of your questions later. So where were we? So let's talk a bit about women's hair loss. So that's one of the questions we have from our audience. What's the difference? So before we talk about difference, let's talk about women's hair loss. It's also known as reactive alopecia and also known as telogen effluvium. Telogen effluvium is a form of temporary hair loss that happens after a really stressful, traumatic event that happens to our body. And it happens 3 months. You see the effects 3 months after the event. Yes? And it occurs mostly on the top of the scalp. And then it's all over. You just have all over, you just drop more hair. And this is temporary. It lasts from 6 to 12 months. And sadly, it affects mainly women. I know it because I had it before after I gave birth. Each time after I had my 3 kids, I had this hair loss problems, which lasted a few months. So telogen effluvium, or we call it reactive alopecia, is associated to the telogen phase. As you remember the chart that I shared with you, the telogen phase is the last stage of our hair loss, where normally we would have 10% of our hair in this stage. That's fine. But with reactive alopecia, what happens is 30% of your hair follicles have shifted drastically to this last stage because your body just went into shock because of a stressful event that happened. And then from the anagen phase, from the growth stage, it jumped to the last stage. So imagine you're dropping like 3 to 6 times more hair than normal suddenly. So, when this happens, you must think, what happened to me 3 months ago? It's not something that happened to you 1 day ago or 1 week ago or 1 month ago. It's something that happened to you 3 months ago. So it's very important for you to think, oh, what happened 3 months ago, which suddenly caused me to have so much hair loss, especially for women. So let's explore some of the causes because I think these are some of the curious questions that we have from our audience. Sudden weight loss, due to maybe a diet that you had, a very successful diet maybe, or maybe you have prolonged poor diet, means you have for a long period of time have not been eating the right nutrients, protein, vitamin Bs are very important, iron and zinc, which affects the quality and the quantity of the hair growth. Prolonged stress, you have prolonged stress that could cause hair loss. Again, the stressful event happened 3 months ago, and therefore you see a lot of hair loss today. One of the very stressful thing that happens to women will be post-pregnancy. When we are pregnant, our hair, we have high hormone levels. Our hair is full, it's luscious, but when we give birth, our body goes into shock and our hormone level drops drastically. So when our cute little baby is 3 to 4 months old, what I'll see around me is lots of hair loss. Yes, it's true. It happened to me. I remember there was once when I was sitting there feeding my baby and my helper was like, oh, my mom, what happened to you? You look like you're having cancer. Because all around me was just hair. And all I did was just sitting there. I didn't even comb my hair. So that was how scary it looked. So I can understand if you see things like this. This happens to a lot of us after childbirth. Menopause, for women who are in their late 50s or mid 50s even, menopause is also another way where our hormones wreak havoc in our system, and that could also cause us to have hair loss, which is why you see hair loss happening to women at the older age, when they're older. Some other reasons that can cause reactive alopecia would be maybe you've just had surgery, or you have an underlying health condition that's affecting your thyroid glands or your autoimmune. These can cause hair loss. Maybe you're taking certain drugs or medication, and that's a side effect as well, unfortunately. Or you just love to style your hair way too much. There's daily hair drying. One day you want to straighten your hair, one day you want to curl your hair. So every day you're doing this, you're just damaging and breaking your hair and damaging your scalp. Lastly, you could be bleaching too much. You all love the fashionable colors, the unicorn colors and things like that. So we may be too adventurous and we bleach too much and too often, and then it causes clumps of hair to just fall off from your hair, from your scalp. And that's really scary. So let's go to some of the questions that we have. I hope I answered about, why is overstyling causing hair loss? Why? Because you see, when you style your hair, you're pulling it. You're actually pulling your hair to make the volume. You're pulling your hair to make it straight. You're pulling your hair to make it curled. You have a nice date, you have a wedding dinner, you have something special to pull your hair for once in a blue moon. It's fine. But imagine you're doing it every day. It looks very pretty, but you're pulling so much at the roots, and that will cause a problem. And that's also why it would also lead to hair loss, because your hair has weakened. Remember, you only have 5 mm beneath the scalp, so you cannot be too harsh on it. Yeah. How to control oily scalp? Well, we're not going to talk about oily scalp so much today, Angela, but definitely using the right product would really help. Can I use your product during pregnancy and after? Yes, definitely. PHYTO products are very safe to be used. If you're not sure, you should always check with your doctor. But our products are perfect to be used during pregnancy and post-pregnancy, and it's perfectly fine when you're breastfeeding. Yeah. Thank you, Hannah, for your message. Yes, the new PHYTO Hoba mask is amazing, and it really helps the damaged hair. Sophia is asking, what age does hair loss start? That's a really interesting question. Hair loss can start at any age. I've seen people having hair loss as young as their late teens. I had one customer at 19 years old. He started having hair loss after he went to army, and he had really bad hair loss for a few years, but don't worry, we managed to save him. We'll show you some pictures later. His name is Casey. Your hair loss could affect you anytime. I think 30% of men in their 30s have started having hair loss. 40% of men in their 40s started having hair loss. And of course, 50 to 60% of men after their 50s all start to have hair loss. That's the statistics that we have. Okay, let's come back. But thank you so much for all your questions. Keep coming, let it come flowing in, and I'll try to answer all of them. I'd like to talk now about the men hair loss. Yeah, it's really important to talk about the chronic hair loss that affects men, also known as androgenetic alopecia. So androgenetic alopecia is a progressive reduction of the hair volume. In other words, it's unlike the reactive alopecia, which happens suddenly and it happens all over. Androgenetic alopecia happens from a small portion and it starts to grow. It starts to become more and more, and it's gradual and it's progressive, and it's also chronic, means it will not stop. Yes, and this happens to most of the men. Most men will suffer from this, and a small percentage of women also gets this problem. So women, please take note. Yeah, we are not spared. So one of the problems that we have when we suffer from androgenetic alopecia, it's, if you remember the chart, yes, this chart that we have, our anagen phase is 2 to 6 years. That's a healthy, normal hair life. But when you have androgenetic alopecia, this 6 years shortened to only 6 months. Can you imagine, from 6 years to 6 months? So every 6 months, your hair would drop and grow again, drop and grow again. And then you finish up your cycles really quickly. So your hair life cycle has been shortened drastically. And the next problem you have is, all the hair that is growing when you're having the androgenetic alopecia, it's very fine. It's no longer thick. It's no longer black. and dense. It's very fine, it's very short, and it's like baby hair. Yeah, do you notice that for yourself or for people around you? That's what happens to them. So that's why it's like a double whammy. Not only you have a shortened life cycle, your hair growing out does not look good. So it becomes very visible and very obvious very fast. So let's find out what are some of the culprits, what are some of the causes for this, yeah? One of the biggest culprit for androgenetic alopecia is DHT. DHT stands for dihydrotestosterone. DHT is something that our body produces. It's a byproduct of testosterone when it goes through the 5-alpha reductase enzyme. It's a very normal procedure. However, for a lot of the men, the 5-alpha reductase enzyme is fighting against our testosterone. So they don't get along. Yeah. So what happens is DHT would then bind the receptors of the hair follicles, causing the hair to shrink and weaken and die. So DHT literally annihilates all your hair follicles. It's a matter of time. So DHT is the primary hormone responsible for hair loss in men. And the most effective way is really to slow down or prevent hair loss, we have to block DHT. So when you want your hair loss product to work, when you go and buy a hair loss product out there in the market, you need to find one that would inhibit DHT. And that's very key. Another problem which causes hair loss would be a very active, overly active sebaceous glands. So remember, we talked about it earlier, when our sebaceous glands is balanced, it's good. Our hair is moisturized, our skin is supple. But when you have too much of it, too much would cause a lot of clogged pores. It becomes a cesspool of bacteria because bacteria will proliferate and there's inflammation. And it's similar to how, some of us have really bad acne. It's the same problem that we have. So the same theory, but just imagine it all over your scalp. All over your scalp is just filled with clogged pores and acne. It's itchy, there's lots of bacteria, it's inflamed, and it will cause hair loss. Yeah. Another two reasons for hair loss would be aging and hereditary, in your genes. But yet at the same time, I must say these two reasons are quite debatable because not everyone who ages have hair loss, and not every brother has hair loss just because their dad has it. So it really depends on the individual. Yeah. So, fear not. When you feel that all hope is lost, I want to assure you that is not the case. There are many options out there that can help you, so don't worry. Let me share with you the various options you have to tackle hair loss. In the market, there's medical products, which you can buy off the pharmacist or through a doctor. These are the only medical products that's available that can help hair loss, a spray-on formula and a pill. They're safe to eat. However, you must be aware of all the side effects that they come along with. Medication is like that. They are fast and efficient, but the side effects is something you need to take note of. Yeah. So one of the ways, of course, to manage DHT is to manipulate your hormones. So when that happens, when you eat this medical pill, it will create a lot of problems biologically for you. As you can see, this results taken from the Canadian Pharmacy Pro, that a man would suffer from libido, they get aggressive, and this loss in libido or even erectile dysfunction would happen to them during taking the pill, and it would continue to affect them even after they stop taking the medicine. So definitely your pharmacist or your doctor will not recommend you to take this pill if you're trying to start a family, because this would definitely affect you and make you infertile. Is one of the side effects. So please take note, this would not be something you recommend to eat when you're starting a family. But some men are okay with this. Maybe they're much older and they don't need to start a family, so they don't mind. But you must also take note that once you start taking all this medical pills, you have to continue taking it for the rest of your life. Because if you stop taking it, all your hair that you grow during that 1 year, for example, if you take this pill, all of it will fall off. So you have to be prepared to take this pill or this medicine for the rest of your life. Yeah. So just be aware of that. And take note when you decide to go down this route. Another option that you have, a medical option, would be to do a hair transplant. This is surgical. Yes, you need to be sedated. You need to go under the knife. It costs a lot. Maybe you can prepare between $10,000 to $20,000 in Singapore to get this done. It's painful. It looks and it feels painful because I've got a couple of friends who did it and they shared with me. And your head will swell like a big alien for a few weeks after it's done. But then it will subside. And after all the money you spend and all the pain you have to go through, it's also not guaranteed whether the hair that you implanted in would stay. So one of my friends had his done in Singapore and it failed. He had to fly overseas and do it all over again. So it depends. And after a few years, after he did once here, 5 years later, he had to do another one there because, the DHT problem still exists. So he is still having hair loss. Other options that you have that may not be so painful would be to go to a hair treatment center to do hair weaving. Hair weaving is a service where they take a wig or kind of like a toupee, they put it on, they match your hair color and your shape, and they kind of sew it on to your existing hair. So it looks very natural, I hope. Most of them do a good job. And as part of the treatment, you have to go back to them regularly, like every week, to get it washed and cleaned and reattach it again. It's not real, right? But it does look very good. So again, it's an option that you can have to go back to them to do this. Well, if you want to go the natural way, there's another option where you can buy treatment packages from spas, from hair spas or treatment centers like this, where the therapist would apply products on your scalp and hair for you. Yeah, these are products which you could actually buy and do it on your own at home. But I get it. It's pampering. It's really nice to have someone massage your scalp, apply products for you, and blow dry your hair for you. I get that. I enjoy being pampered as well. But my question really is, how often can you go there? Can you go there once a month? Can you go there twice a month? Can you go there once a week? And in this current climate, when, staying home is a lot safer, how do you then get your hair loss treatment done if you're going to be dependent on the therapist? So that's one option. The last option that you have really is to buy off the shelf. You can buy it online, you can go to pharmacists, you can go to departmental stores, perfumeries, a lot of them out there, a sea of products, in fact, countless products out there. And how do you choose? Well, for one, I would definitely want to check the source and origin, like where is it made from? Because a lot of brands could be French or it seems like from a good country, but the products are not made from there. I would also read the ingredients very carefully because a lot of things are just marketing talk and marketing lingo, but the facts are in the ingredients. So please read the ingredients carefully to see what they have inside. I would also recommend you buy a product which has clinical efficacy, means it's been clinically tested and it works. But do note there are two types of clinical tests. There's the in vivo test, which is on humans, like real people using it. And there's an in vitro test, which is just using test tubes and cells, and then it reported as such. So please take note there are two types of clinical tests as well. So don't just see the clinical test without seeing where are they tested. I personally prefer something that is botanical based. I always believe that all the cures that we need comes from nature. I believe in TCM, I believe in aromatherapy. So, that's my choice. And I feel like you have many choices out there to resolve your hair loss problems. So you find one that's the safest for you, the most efficient, and doesn't burn a hole in your wallet. If you ask me, if I were to spend thousands of dollars, I'd rather go for a hair loss, a hair treatment, a hair transplant, because it's a higher chance of guarantee after spending tens of thousands of dollars. That is my personal choice. Then again, if you could buy products which cost a fraction of thousands of dollars and use it at home by yourself and get the result that you want, that would be a good entry point before you want to spend and lay down tens of thousands of dollars for treatment packages or to go under the knife. There are many options for you which you can consider. Oh yes, let's go to the questions quickly. We have lots of questions, it's very exciting. So I'm on a diet, my hair keeps dropping. It's any products that could help me? Yes. If you're going to go on a diet, I would recommend you take one of our products, which is PHYTO Hair. It's a health supplement that we created 40 years ago. This health supplement really helps you to have all the vitamin Bs and the zinc and iron that you need to keep your hair growing well. So you can still go on your diet and take this pill to ensure that your hair doesn't fall off so much. Yeah. I sweat easily. Does it mean I have oily scalp? No. Aquamarine is not true. You sweat a lot. That's possible because we live in this climate, but our sweat glands and our sebaceous glands are separated from each other. So it's not connected. You could be very sweaty and have oily scalp, or it could be neither. The best way to do it is to come down to get us to check, once the circuit breaker opens. We'll be very happy to do a scalp analysis for you at one of our counters in our stores. And you can see very clearly on the scalp analysis whether you have oily scalp or you have or you're just sweaty. When you use PHYTO products, your problems will not resolve, will not come back again if you stop using it. Yeah. Thank you, Kylene. You used to use PHYTO products when you were pregnant, and after that, it really helped your hair. That's great. It helped me too. I've been selling PHYTO. I've been using PHYTO for 20 years, so I really love the brand. It works so well for me. How long will it take for the hair to grow back after postpartum hair loss? Oh, like I said, our hair takes 1 cm. We grow 1 cm a month. And that's when you're having a healthy hair follicle, it grows 1 cm a month. So you can imagine if you are having hair loss problems, I would think you need at least 3 to 5 months before you can see visibly the results. Yeah. So just to manage expectations, any hair loss treatment, be it PHYTO or anyone else, you need several months to see it. So yeah. So I'm going to talk a bit about PHYTO because there are a lot of questions about what products to use. So for those who are interested, continue to tune in where I'm going to talk to you very briefly about the choices you have that PHYTO can provide for hair loss. So the first things first is we have PHYTO Sien. PHYTO Sien is a woman's hair loss treatment. We are the first in the world to create it in 1985, I believe. There's a shampoo, there's a treatment ampules that you can use, and it has ginkgo biloba, it has grapeseed extract. It's a wonderful product you can use daily. It helps to grow your hair, makes your hair thick and luscious and silky. And it also gives it volume and shine and helps to delay white hair. It's an amazing product, has a lot of benefits in it. And 85% clinically tested on in vivo testing, and 94% of our consumers love it. It's one of our best sellers, still is for the last 20 over years. The next product we have, which is for men's hair loss, is called PHYTO. PHYTO is also a patented formula from us and has Seranoa. Seranoa is very key because this ingredient would inhibit DHT. And we are the only one in the world who uses this ingredient because we patented it. So this product is fantastic because when you start to see that you're having hair loss, PHYTO treatment, the shampoo and treatment will be the one you want to use. PHYTO Novatrix. PHYTO Novatrix is our latest innovation. It's for people, men and women, who have severe hair loss. Yes, when you have severe hair loss, you want something that works fast and works well. And this product is amazing. It has Seranoa, which also stops DHT, but it has a lot more than that. It has 16 different benefits, which targets the entire hair bulb. So if you look at the hair bulb, there's the papilla, there's the sebaceous glands, there's everything. So PHYTO Novatrix is the product which targets 16 different benefits all over the bulb and the area around it to ensure that the hair grows up well and strong. And I'm not bullshitting you, but we have great results from this product. If I could just show you some of the results that we have. We've got these two gentlemen who offered themselves very kindly. They're not famous models or anything. We didn't pay them a single cent to endorse. But one of them is Casey. He started having hair loss when he was 19 in army. And look at him, after using 5 months, his hair is growing so well. He gave up hope. He wanted to shave bald, but I told him, please don't, just try our products. And he did. And it's amazing. He stopped using it already this year. And I met him recently. He's an IT engineer, and his hair is still there. So that's fabulous, right? If you use the products for 6 months to 12 months and you feel that your hair is growing well, you can stop. You don't have to use it all the time, or you can use it sparingly as a prevention. And then we have Santosh. He is an editor, and he offered himself again very kindly to help me with his hair loss. He's had hair loss for like 15 years, and it just gets worse and worse. So he's in his 50s. We managed to resuscitate a lot of his hair bulk, which is great. Yeah, so these are some of the results we have for hair loss. We have 3 more products I wanted to run through with you, which is really great supplementary products for all of us. The first one would be PHYTO. PHYTO is like a scalp elixir. You use it before you shampoo, once or twice a week. And it really helps to boost the blood circulation in your hair bulk. It helps to even normalize the sebum and control the sebum production. So this is a great product for you to have your own PHYTO home spa at home. It smells like you're in a spa. It's all plants, 100% natural. It has about 2 kg worth of plants in a little bottle like this. All essential oils is fantastic for you to use for the whole family, husband, wife, teenagers, perfect. And we have PHYTO. It's a product we created 40 years ago. It's filled with all the vitamins you need to have a healthy hair growth and also for your nails. So for the ladies or gentlemen who have broken nails, or maybe you do a lot of gelish and your nails are very thin and painful, PHYTO would really help you to get stronger, thicker nails. And also the same ingredients will help your hair grow well. Yes, PHYTO. And last but not least, if you have no hair loss problems and you just want something to prevent, like I'm young or I don't have any hair loss problems now, what can I do to prevent? You can use Poline, you can use Eat Fernet, and you can use our latest launch, which is a PHYTO Novatrix lotion. This product is a big bottle. You can use it after you shampoo, just spray it on the scalp. It smells great. It's great. It's 99% natural. It makes your hair feel dense and thick. So it's a great product to use to prevent hair loss. So that's it, short and sweet. So I've got some exciting news actually. So we're going to give you a 25% discount if you purchase any of the PHYTO products on our website on PHYTO.sg for the month of June 2020. Just key in the code hair growth when you check out and you enjoy 25% discount for this month. Yeah. I've run out of time. I'm actually a bit late. I'm so sorry. I'll get to your questions. I'll read all your comments and we'll answer your questions, every one of them. Yeah. I think some of them asked about promotion. Yeah, I've just shared with you promotions that we have. So in closing, I want to thank all of you for all your comments and questions. I'm so happy that this session was interactive and I'm not talking to myself. And I hope to see you next Tuesday again, because we're going to have this every week at 8 o'clock, at 8 o'clock to about 8:30, more or less. And on Thursday, on the 4th of June, we're going to have our second episode of the PHYTO Passion Project. And this is a special segment where we're going to invite special guests to speak with us and share with us what are they passionate about. And our special guest for this Thursday is none other than the 1FM radio DJ, Miss Cheryl Miles. And she's going to share with us on how to get smitten in the kitchen. So I hope to see you soon and good night.
This could be the moment we've been waiting for, the chance to feel alive. Nothing's gonna stop us, nothing's gonna top this, nothing like we've ever seen. And I raise my hands to the sky, what a feeling. 'Cause I feel like dancing high, got a feeling, time to feel it. This is where it all begins.